Chris Beech, lovely to see you. Just give us an idea what the mood around this place has been like in recent weeks. Is there a sense of celebration still and relief as well to a degree?
Absolutely, yeah. The celebrations were very good after the Bradford game. Great party atmosphere, obviously all for the right reasons. But no, the mood's been very positive, very good, and like you said, it's getting the job done was vital.
Yeah, getting the job done on the final day. Just talk to us about the sort of emotional roller coaster that must have been going to Bradford Park Avenue.
Well, to be fair, it's every credit to Kings Lynn for pushing it so far. We knew and had control of what we needed to do, but of course doing it and talking about it are completely different things. So the lads handled the pressure very well, staff were commendable, everybody about the club was excellent, and we managed to get a very positive result and like you said before, get it over the line.
It looked, like you've just referred to then, I think I came here to see the manager just before Easter, and it looked like it was going to be quite a routine.
So that was your fault?
Yeah, probably, yeah. I think there was about 4 home games in a row to come or something like that, and that's just football, isn't it, this time of the season?
Well, yeah, and Easter, what were we? Games in hand, 5 points clear, like you say, home games. You've probably preempted almost this sort of interview then, but it's amazing what can happen, and you would never have bet on losing them next 2 games. Of course, the Easter weekend wasn't a great weekend, but what was good is reflecting. While we had a chance of trying to stimulate difference, and then obviously the lads following it through, and they were so professional after that weekend. It hurt a lot of people.
It's about keeping your nerve, Chris, isn't it, at this time of year?
Sometimes. It's a lot of ingredients, actually. You need a lot of things to go for you as well. But without honesty, hard work, congruent movement with everybody, doing their best to be heading in the same direction, that's on off the pitch as well. It makes a big difference to what happens, and that includes the supporters, the people that work behind the scenes, and of course, like anything, the players themselves, they're the ones that have to actually do it.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that ever since the chairman's been involved at this club, he's fiercely ambitious. He's always been clear what the objective of this football club is. Now you're 1 division away again. Does it feel that much more reachable again, Chris, if that's the right way of putting it?
Yeah, I mean, my first meeting with all the lads and the staff, really, I just said simply all you have to do is win 50 games in the next 18 months, and we'll get where we all want to be. And to be fair, they won 19 from that meeting. We won 29 games this season, so obviously that was enough to win this league. But we're not daft either. I mean, the actual terrain of the National League's changed a lot in the last 2-3 years since obviously Fal were there last time. The amount of money, the amount of facility, it's great really for the league. But ultimately, it's made it a lot harder to try and be competitive in. But that's, first and foremost, that's where we've got to start.
Is it a little bit unfair, do you think, that the way the promotion and relegation is to the up the leagues now? We've seen Notts County miss out on automatic promotion with, I think, 106 or 107 points. It's ridiculous, isn't it?
Well, let's hope they can do it. It will make that competitive edge and league and our competitors next season a little bit easier, because they've been phenomenal and they do deserve. And I agree with what you've just said. For their efforts, energy, quality, the way their players have gone about what they've done, the style of play they've played and done what they've done. Because it is different to Wrexham's, and 2 massive clubs, great history, heritage, and like you said, now they find themselves in that 90-minute match now, and anything can happen.
I remember talking many years ago now to Mickey Mellon when he was managing Fleetwood Town through the divisions, and he said to me that the National North is possibly as difficult a division to navigate through as he's been through. And he's had many promotions, I should say, and probably the one relegation when COVID came.
He's my mate, Mickey, leave him alone.
He won't mind me saying that. COVID relegated this club as well as his. But he said the National North was such a difficult league to navigate through. Would you go along with that?
Yeah, I'd say because of the variance of condition, in respect to difference in grounds, pitches. There's a mentality that's quite, if anything, I've found working at this level quite heartening in respect to how much connect there is with volunteers, supporters at the clubs. Obviously, I've always lived, dreamed, worked in football all my life, and as a young man I used to watch Fleetwood play. They were lower than when Mickey took them. My dad and his uncles and all the rest of the lads, they used to play when I was a boy, and watching a lot of non-league football, but that connect that they have is unbelievable. And when you go to the different venues, it's so, the pitches, like I say, the facilities, the range is so broad, and it gives you different obstacles and challenges to get over. And then of course you've got the complete different tactics, and of course it's an easy one to have, an easy one to throw out there, but all people that work this sideline seem to have a view on is the referees and the difference in the standards, etc. But they are doing their best, but it does cause a lot of challenges in different ways.
Were Fylde viewed as the big fish wherever you went as well?
Yeah, and that's, I suppose that's been created by what you're sat in here interviewing me in, the facility, and like you said before, the chairman's ambition. He's been forthright in that. He's not hid it. He shared it straight away, didn't he? And he's still got a burning ambition to achieve Football League status. So we're now a little bit closer, but we're still as far away in my eyes, and we've got to work really, really hard. We have to upskill, we have to provide, and our provision for the lads have to be better. The players that we have need to perform faster, quicker, stronger. The challenges of the opponents is far greater. Repeating that, factoring in travel, overnight stays, things like that. So it's all coming in as different slices of the cake, and we've got to try and make sure we get it right.
Just so I get it right, your job title is Director of Football here, isn't it?
It is.
There's technical directors, there are sporting directors. Yeah. Probably the first one I remember, Chris, was Kenny Dalglish at Blackburn Rovers. And he just won the Premier League and decided he wanted, and the phrase was, he's gone upstairs, which meant he'd become the Director of Football. And nobody quite knew what the job title entailed. Just from your perspective, what is the job of Director of Football of AFC Fylde?
Well, when I met David and Phil Humphreys, they explained the role. To be fair, I sat on it for a few weeks, couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks. My instinct is to be in a trench at the forefront of any fight, and that's obviously where most of my life, my professional life outside playing professional football, has been in the dugout. At first team level, I think about 10 years, something like that. So when they shared that with me, I found it a little bit, I had to contemplate the thoughts of it, and I just said, listen, if it's a role that I can be a little bit more interactive in, a little bit more from a footballing perspective, think about the decisions we make from that angle, rather than it being a suit and spreadsheets, etc. Obviously that's a big involvement in the role, but if I can do that, I'll be able to express myself, and I think you'll get a little bit more out of me. And we're kind of getting the dynamic of that quite well, quite good. But of course, like I said to you before, we've got a bigger challenge next season, and we've got to make sure we're ready for that.
So how broad is your responsibility? Are you solely looking at first team things, or are you looking at the entire club here?
Yeah, and David will be the better man to ask, I suppose, that question. But from my perspective, he wants me to look after, obviously, the men's team, have our goals and our objectives for that. And then we just actually yesterday took on a new women's manager, try and take the team forward. A brilliant fella from Man City under-21s women's game. I think he'll grow that aspect and part of the football club. And then I've had big meetings with our academy manager who's been here a long time. And you said before about teams getting promoted or relegated in respect to the National League, and Notts County deservedly should really be promoted without playing this final game. And it's the same to be said about work in youth and academy programs, because at this level there's no protection for all that work. Chris has been, I don't know, live on the radio, I better choose my words carefully. He's lost a lot of players in that time, and there's no compensation to the club for that work. And he has developed this way of doing things that has had good success, but you have to just let it go, and you can't fight to keep hold. But what he does do, and he tries to develop relationships with the clubs that do take these lads, that when them players are 16 and don't get their scholarships at Fleetwood, Preston, Blackpool, in and around the areas, they ring him up just because of the way he's treated them and allowed them to leave in respect of helping them and assisting them often when they're not still here, and they come back. So we need to grow that, but we also need to try and look at how we develop that younger player and how we develop the content within the games that they play, because it's not just about winning, and they're things that we're going to approach as well.
How difficult is the sort of relationship? Difficult is maybe the wrong word. The balance of it, Chris. You've been a first team manager before. If a director of football came in above you, do you think straight away, hang on a minute, he's already been a manager, he might want my job here? Was that ever an issue with you and Adam?
Well, that's a natural question to ask, and I would imagine it's a natural answer in everybody's head. It's exactly how you've just said it. But that's life. So there's no hiding from the ifs, buts and maybes in football. But what I am and promised Adam I'd do is, to my best capabilities, is to assist and make difference in game, have professional chats, like after that Easter weekend, etc., to try and realign where we're going. Professional discussions is probably the best way to describe them. And it's to work hand in hand, because there's no one key part makes something work. It can't be just a first team coach. It can't be a director of football without aligned thoughts and processes. It can't be just the players and they don't respect the coach. It can't be great fans and no team. It's all little parts of successes. So I suppose I sit at the top of the cake, or whatever you want to call it, but we work great, and our staff have done really well this year, but they're all quite aware that we are stepping up to a different level. And what's great about our staff, really, they've not really worked at first team football, all of them, till this season. So they've learnt so much, so they'll be reflecting so much now and getting ready for next year's challenges.
Has there ever been a case so far where you've just had to hold yourself back and say, well, hang on a minute, I'm not the first team manager, I'm the director of football, this is something for him to sort?
Yeah, of course there is. I'm sure he's done the same back the other way, but it's about clear communication. We all know the alignment of how the business works. There's David and Phil, there's myself, obviously there's first team head coach and the staff, and of course the other key departments of the footballing aspects of the club that we just talked about. But we've got to work hand in hand. We've got to try our best, and there's nothing wrong with a little bit of friction. It's a stimulant, but as long as you keep respectful of each other and make sure it's for an aligned goal, I can't see there being too much issue with it.
Yeah. So you're into the summer time now. Is your remit recruitment? Is that the manager's remit? Is it the two of you sitting together and discussing the best way forward? What is it?
Well, eventually, we'll hopefully, and there's different areas of the footballing business that we want to expand, and that is a key area, because there's no matter how good you are on a football pitch in respect to coaching, you're only as good as your product, and you can actually not be too clever at coaching, and if you've got great players, suddenly you're an unbelievable coach. So you've got to get that balance to that, but 100% recruitment's key and king in respect to making the football better and being able to compete and challenge further up the footballing pyramid. So 100% that's a key bit of the part of the year now, and everybody at the club that's football related are actually actively seeking some answers and solutions to try to make us what we already have, support the lads that we've got and kept, looking to enhance us as a football team.
How would you best sort of describe the budget that you're going into the National League with? Is it a competitive one that will hopefully stand you in good stead to be in the upper echelons of the division?
Well, in my opinion, and David were quite right, and he talked about this at the presentation evening, is that he did say money doesn't always buy you everything, and obviously you said before, you mentioned big fish, but in National League North, yeah, we've only done what we should do, but there's no guarantee of doing it just because you should. So there's great credit to everybody that's gone and everybody that's gone on that journey and delivered for the club. But now we are in a different room and a different mindset, and currently we're nowhere near in respect to what's changed in the last 2-3 years at National League level. So the Wrexhams and the Notts Counties and Chesterfields, we took Danny Rowe back on loan, and we were paying part of that wage, and that was far more than our players. So that's how far away them clubs are. So we have to be competitive, and it'll be a great challenge for everybody on the football side, because we'll have to outperform the pound rather than rely on it to almost not guarantee but give you success. So we'll have to push and challenge ourselves to do what I've always ended up doing in my footballing career, is trying to do that.
So what would represent a good first season back, would you suggest?
In the National League, obviously we want to be competitive. We want a way of playing that is possession-based, that we've obviously got and developed. We want that congruent right through the club. But every Saturday and Tuesday match day, ultimately we want to win. We want to win with a certain way of playing. And to me, I ask for them victories. We've got 19, so the lads owe us 31 before the end of next season. If they get 31, you're talking to hopefully another promotion. But I've got to make sure we grow this correctly, and sometimes you can go too fast. But in respect of being competitive, looking towards winning 20 football matches, that guarantees that 7th spot. We've got to try our best to aim and be successful. But to nail that right now, with moving parts in respect to budgets and players, it's a little bit too early to sort of say this is what we'll do.
How many big players do you think there will be in that division next season? We've got big 2 players coming down, haven't we?
Most of them are about 6'5".
So there's some quality football players. I mean, well, there's a few lads that I've coached. The Wrexham, I say pinched, they paid for, but they paid a lot of money for Aaron Hayden. There's Andy Cannon. There's all sorts of League One quality. Obviously, they've been promoted now, but there's some League One quality and a little bit higher. And it's amazing how this 5th professional league, because that's what it is now, has developed, and they're financing it. And because it's not governed by EFL stipulations and things like that, there's the range of that finance is massive.
So basically, if you want to do a Ryan Reynolds, you can buy your way out of it, but once you get in the EFL, it's a whole different ballgame, isn't it?
Yeah, but if we're talking about them, I think they'll be all right till they get to about midway up League One. That's the kind of lads, team, size of squad, quality of non-playing squad members, buying Barra's best player and not playing him. That's where they're at. So, that takes a lot of financial clout, a lot of planning, and they've obviously got all them Welsh Dragons supporting that on as well. So I can only see that growing and them shooting through League Two. As I could say the same if Notts County can do what they deserve to do. In regard to us, we've got to just look after ourselves, and we've got to, first and foremost, enjoy the new challenge, because I'm sat here now, even considering the National League North now, to start again and try and win that would be so difficult. So I'm so thankful and happy we've managed to achieve that, and now it's time to grow and move forwards.
Has your phone been non-stop with agents and everything else wanting AFC File to have a look?
It has, and I like it like that. We've done some planning as well in respect to our need to try and look to meet some of the performance pillars that I'd call them in respect to delivering on the pitch. We want a certain amount of clean sheets, certain amount of goals, certain amount of wins. And then you've got to break down your team and think, who's going to do that? How are we going to do that? What's important within that, individually, the players themselves, what we've got and what we've retained, and how we can support them to support their skill sets. So we've been, I sent a nice email this morning about 6 o'clock in the morning to try and look at activating something. We have actually signed a player, but currently I just looked up before I came up here to speak to yourself, and I got an email back off the National League that they're all real busy down at Wembley, so it's not actually cleared on the IFAS system, but we have signed a new player. But I can't tell you about it till it drops in. And I won't want to put Callum out of, he's smiling behind the camera there, thinking, well, make sure you don't mention that, Chris, you know. But so we've got some things going on, and hopefully we can share that with you.
Is there a sort of ballpark figure in terms of numbers that you might need to add this summer?
Yeah, if you've seen the retain and release list, there was a good 8 or 9 and some good players on that list that have left us, and we feel where we know the areas of what we need to improve in. We've got some important players out of contract. We know we're trying our best to make sure the club gives the best offers they can in their capabilities to retain their services, and all these things. While you think, wow, can that not just be sorted out over a cup of coffee? It's amazing that it takes a lot more than that. And sometimes you have to be patient. Sometimes you have to go quick and make sure it's done. But we're active in all them areas, and we will continue to be so.
How easy or difficult was it signing your contracts at Blackpool, for example?
Me?
Yeah.
I've got a funny story about that.
Go on.
I think I played about 80, 90 games for Blackpool, and there's some good young players at the time, Neil Mitchell, Mark Bonner, Andy Gowk. Mickey was at the club then, he'd come as a big signing along with Andy Morrison. I think Sam Allardyce bought them both. I just remember I was on a couple of £100, maybe a little bit more, and no agents back then, so my dad sat with me in the room and stuff. And I don't think this story's quite right for it. It's more of a nuts and bolts story, this. I'll be careful what I say. I remember sat down in the room with Sam, and he pushes this envelope in front of me, open it, like, it's new contract. Oh, it's great. And you look at the details, and it's the same. That's the same as what I'm getting. Well, you either sign it, Beech, or you can off kind of thing. So, really? So I looked at it and thought, I've been here, played 80, 90 games. I'm 20, 21, I think it was. So he said, well, you either sign it or you can do one. So I ended up doing one. So I ended up not re-signing, but that was my negotiations back then. That was how it was. So I think if we spoke to players like that now, you'd probably have have the FA and everybody jumping on you. But to be fair to Sam, brilliant fella. Obviously really pleased to see him back where he belongs. And I remember Huddersfield playing Bolton, and at the time I was doing quite well in the Championship. And he just we're playing Bolton, and I'd won Player of the Month for, I don't know, whatever it was. So the opposition manager had to present it, and he's giving it me. So I'm about 26 now, and he just tapped me on the shoulder and went, Beechy, I might have got that one wrong. I think I should have looked at that a little bit more. But and that were it. That was Sam. So.
Just give us an idea now, Chris. If you sit down with an agent and a player, how many meetings would it take to get one player to sign a contract? Because, like you say, people on the outside of it think, how difficult can this actually be?
Well, I've got to say, and I know it's been released, it depends on the person and the individual and what they really want. And there's some really good agents out there, because they get a bad name as well, don't they? And they try and move players when they're not ready. If they don't have a strategic plan for their player, are they doing it to make their cut rather than actually look after their career? And then, you look at how many phone calls you'll get as a player once you have no worth off that person who you've lent on and felt and give all your secrets and trust to, and then suddenly you don't get phone calls when it's all finished. So it's a big balance really to all of them thoughts. But Danny Philliskirk last week was first class, but he's an older pro. He's professional in mind and body. He played 52 times last year for Fylde, and his negotiations, and I don't mind publicly sharing this because I think it's commendable of Danny, his respect to the club his chairman, myself, and he's actually looked and took a refined finance moving forwards for time because of the connect he has here and wants to grow. And he too wants to try and get this football club in the Football League. I mean, he signed a 2-year contract on terms lesser favourable than what he finished the season on, and that's commendable to him. But in others, of course, it'll be different stories. And in regards to how many meetings, that often could be 1, it could be 10, it could be going quiet, it could be getting red hot, it could be 10 in 10 minutes. It's so varied.
Is that one of the most frustrating things of the job, that you get really a long way down the road with potentially a new player, and they're on their way here to sign, and then somebody rings them and they go, actually, I'm going there instead?
Yeah, and a lot of clubs at this time of year will tell a lot of players what they want to hear, but they are on a list of about 15 for that position, but you're the one. It's you we want. So there's a lot of that goes on, and it wastes a lot of time. And I worked at clubs, and when I was up at Carlisle, to be fair, I know it's different now, but when I was there was no money. So that was a good thing for me, because it just meant I just let all this crack on for 2 months and wait for the last bus stop, and then pick off, in respect to recruiting, some real ambitious, young, progressive players, and that's what I did. Obviously, filed in the National League North, more clout in respect to the league we're going into. We're now competitive. It also opens the door for what I would consider, although the lads we got on loan this year were excellent, opening a bigger door for that recruitment. And it's something myself and the staff and even my boy Brandon, we constantly watch football matches, so we have a good range and view of some of them young, great potential players that aren't quite ready for Burnley, but they could make significant difference for Fylde. So we're aware of that, but yeah, it's there's a lot of things go into it.
Just how much of a difference does it make having the knowledge of these divisions, and maybe when you've scouted, like you say, you've looked for players at Carlisle, knowing full well that you can't compete financially, some of the contacts you'll have got now, just how much do they help?
Well, look, they're massive, but somebody just asking me outside the ground there, like, you know, are you specific on who you want? Well, you can be if you're going to spend the most. I mean, Brandon, my lad, bounced into the lounge and said, Cole Stockson's been released, Dad. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's like, it's optimistic on that, but there you go. But like, it's within reason, and you've got to have reality to them thoughts. So they are hard, but you're always trying to push that boundary. And then, of course, you've got your support of your chairman to follow up and follow in and follow through. And to be fair, what we've done this morning hopefully may come to fruition. It might not, and we move on in a different direction. But he's shown support there, and for me, he's been very, very good. So we just need to keep continuing to work this way, and try and build, like I said before, that squad that has difference within that squad as well. Because it's all right having a way of playing, but winning games in National League level, we will have to be better at winning when we're not playing as well. Playing and getting back and fighting back in challenges, in respect to possibly not winning a couple of games on the bounce like we did at Easter, but that was only once this season. That might be once a month. So we've got to get the psychology and the response to setback and the people within that group bang on that. And there's loads of things that will come at us, but we're really excited about it.
Chris, do you spend any time on a training pitch these days?
Yeah, I'll go down, watch the boys and things like that. Adam's sort of suggested maybe utilising some of them skills in pre-season and things like that, nail down and drum in what we want for next season. Of course, it's going back to that question before about lines and difference. But yeah, I have no problem being interactive. And like I said before about trying to look to improve our provision in respect to the academy and things like that. We want to try and improve coach education, you know, coach better. Players coming in enjoy it. We want to progress our junior teams. We actually want to start junior teams at a younger age, up until the under-10s, and full knowing well, anybody any good will probably generally leave. But we don't, it's a horrible thought to have, but we still want to do it. The chairman wants file tops, he wants a community-based project, and I've been speaking to Chris at length, and I said to him, I want some ball manipulation technique, skill sets like that the lads can practice and do. And I talked to a good friend of mine whose son used to play here, actually, who's sadly passed, Tom Bennett. But we're going to call it Bennett ball, and we want them skill sets to be in his honour, but at the same time, things that the players can look into, and what does that do, and how am I doing it, and send the videos into the coaches and try and make it really interactive. And I know these are just words currently, but it's something that I'd like for it to happen. But it doesn't help us try and beat Chesterfield. It's just one of them. That's what happens at football clubs.
So where's the academy at in terms of we hear that some are category 1, 2, 3, 4 or whatever. Where's Fylde?
Well, non-league, it sits outside.
Okay.
So you can't actually get in that until you get in the Football League.
Right.
And then, of course, when you get in the Football League, you get massive grants for being at a certain level of category. But I know the club after, it's a bit of a while since I was in youth football, but it used to be sort of a hand-in-hand type thing. You get so much, club puts so much in. But for that, you then need to meet fit-for-purpose protocols and some governance to it, etc. Facilities, toilets, it was all sorts of things, pitch sizes. Of course, outside of that, you don't sit in any of that. So you lose that, but a lot of that is quite good because it directs good practice. So, yeah, we need to improve some of our provisions, but some of the stuff's been going on that's good as well. So it's just getting that balance. But we're a student-led program, so the lads that come on our program are doing the BTECs, associate with an outside teaching provider, and of course we're going into next season. But I think he ran off 100 at the start of last, and we're looking to reduce it down to half and try and have a more concentrated effort on the football and the delivery of that football.
Just in terms of the potential of this football club, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to work out. Down the road you've got Preston North End, the opposite direction you've got Blackpool, a little bit further you've got Fleetwood Town. Blackburn Rovers are not a million miles away either. How difficult is it to grow this football club that doesn't have that nostalgic look back 100 years?
Well, it doesn't, but it's got a very intelligent, structured, ambitious chairman behind it. He's not stupid, otherwise he wouldn't be able to build something like this. So he's obviously got a connect, and really at heart, he loves football. So to do something like this is great credit. Now where it is and what it's trying to do, well, we need to try and drive it a little bit faster and in the direction of where his original dream would have been. In respect to growing it with others, our fan base has gone up, but we have been winning games regular. The younger element of that has gone up. We understand where we sit, and we're not a city, or we are an evolution of what was Kirkham and Wesham. So that's what it is, and David honours that in respect to Di Davis, and Mick Woods. So that he's very respectful that way. But success breeds success. We have to play. It's like you yourself, if you're going for something to eat or you're going to a party, we've got to why are you going to drive further to come and have a look at this? Or eat this because it's good. Look at this because it's good. We've got to create a product that's fast, that's attacking, that for a footballing person, I like what's going on there. And we have to make the experiences really, really, really good. And I think, again, the food and the way it goes on about that side of the business is really good. I mean, now I put a tie on a match day, I eat some of that, and I'll tell you now it's beautiful. But so it's having that real experience to connect, and we've got to value every single supporter, every single view, and we've got to grow it. But ultimately, it's what we do on the pitch that will make it bigger.
Yeah, we've got 3 clubs here in Lancashire. I mean, Accrington Stanley and Morecambe. Yes, they've been relegated this season. Fleetwood Town finished halfway up the table in League One. Are they really good examples of clubs that don't particularly have a huge fan base, don't have massive followings, but look what they've achieved over the last 10, 15 years.
Well, all three of them clubs are run very well. I know Morecambe have had a bit of off the field discrepancy, if you want to call it that, but you know, they've had and all three have well, two very experienced managers, and of course Scott at Fleetwood, and at Fleetwood them too, you know, ambitious chairman. So it's not great seeing our local clubs not do as well as we'd all like, but they've probably been doing better than they should anyway. So I suppose it's probably just a reposition of where it should be. But if I was sat next to John now, he'd give us a dead arm for that comment probably, because you know how competitive he is, and yeah, he will not want that to have happened, of course. Same at Morecambe. So yeah, it's a shame that's where it is at the moment, but I'm sure they'll go and grow again. But yeah, it's a great area for football, isn't it? And there's a lot of good players in the area as well. But of course, when you get to professional football and National League level, you know, national is the whole country now, even though National League North involved Kings Lynn. But yeah, so like it is now a wider spec of recruiting for players. And when we get ours, we want them to look to recruit and move and commit to the area, whether it be for 2 years or 5 years or whatever it might, a year, and make difference on the pitch for us. So that's where we're at the moment.
The area's got to be a great sell, hasn't it? Live on a Fylde coast?
Yeah, well, yeah. I think, if I'm being truly honest, my mum and dad's first house was in Kirkham, so I think that's where Saturday night happened. I was born in Blackpool and lived in Fleetwood, so yeah, that's Fylde. What a bad advert for Fylde I am, but I'm Fylde. But yeah, it's a beautiful place, and it's important that we respect it and we try and grow our product within it. You know, our football.
Just finally, Chris, just how excited are you about this project that you've got your teeth into it now? You've got the first promotion, and you're ready to go again.
Really excited. I know it'll test and challenge many aspects of the players, our staff, the club, behind the scenes, the club. It'll be busier. You know, let's be right. That away end now next season, it'll be full of, what will it be full of? We've got Oldham, we've got Rochdale, we've got all sorts going on.
Hartlepool.
Wow, yeah, I forgot about them. So like, there's going to be a lot of people in this ground next season. Obviously, we want our Fylde fans to come out and support us as well, and that's exciting in itself. There'll be a bit of traffic jams, I would imagine, around the ground on match day. It'll be a lot different to the experiences we've had in National League North level. Of course, the club's been here before, but like I said, I think the terrain has changed in them 3-4 years. But I'm so excited about it, and like I said before, I imagine starting back at that start line, National League North or National League, ready for that whistle to go and start running. You know, it's far better to be on the line we're starting on.